This loser weakling tries to save his sister from their abusive father and runs away, but is later rescued by a man who adopts and raises them. Soon enough, the once-weak failure boy becomes the most powerful demon hunter in the world. On a frigid evening, a girl named Suzune is forcibly taken to a storage shed by her father, who despises even looking at her. He regrets her very existence and intends to abandon her there for the entire night. However, just a few moments later, her brother Jinta rushes out in an attempt to rescue her, only to be stunned when he realizes she is missing. Panicked, he dashes through the village, desperately searching for Suzune, until he finally spots her crossing a bridge, seemingly leaving the village behind. He quickly approaches her, apologizing for failing to shield her from their father's cruelty, knowing that any attempt to protect her would only result in punishment for himself. Suzune was born with a demonic eye, and in feudal Japan, such a trait condemns her as an accursed being, treated as nothing more than a loathsome outcast. Aware that a normal life is impossible for her, she urges Jinta to return home without her. Jinta hesitates, torn between duty and love, but ultimately chooses his sister over the rest of their family. Taking her hand, he asks her to escape with him. Together, they abandon their old home, but the relentless rain continues to pour and the bitter cold intensifies. With no refuge in sight, Jinta leads Suzune to the remnants of a crumbling structure, where they huddle together, trying to share warmth. Exhaustion overtakes them, and Suzune drifts into slumber while Jinta, on the verge of passing out, catches sight of a stranger approaching. The man mutters something about taking them in, and before Jinta fully loses consciousness, he sees himself being lifted and carried along with Suzune. Walking beside him, the man feels relieved to see that Jinta has finally regained consciousness, so he sets him down, and they continue on their way until they reach the man's village. The settlement is primarily home to blacksmiths who specialize in crafting katanas, so everyone is currently busy at work. The man guides Jinta and Suzune to his home, and as soon as he opens the door, his daughter rushes out to welcome him. She is delighted to see him, but also intrigued by the two children standing behind him. The man explains that Jinta and Suzune will be living with them from now on. When he asks his daughter if she is all right with it, she appears overjoyed at the prospect, as it means she will have companions to play with. She approaches Jinta and introduces herself as Shirayuki, expressing her hope that the three of them will get along well. That night, Jinta struggles to fall asleep, prompting Motoharu to ask if something is bothering him. While polishing his blade, Motoharu listens as Jinta inquires whether he is a samurai. However, Motoharu clarifies that he is actually a sentinel, responsible for guarding significant individuals and locations. Later, Jinta and Suzune accompany Shirayuki and Chitose by the river. On the way back, Jinta asks about Shirayuki's mother, the one who allowed him and Suzune to remain in the village. Shirayuki explains that her mother is an Itsukime, a maiden of the fire god, and can only be seen by the village chief and her husband, Motoharu, her guardian. The following day, Jinta trains under Motoharu, but as a beginner in swordsmanship, he is effortlessly knocked down while Motoharu remains unfazed. Motoharu tells Jinta that he still has a long journey ahead, but if he persists in his training, he will undoubtedly become a master one day. As the years pass, Jinta assumes the role of the Shrine Maiden's new guardian, attending a crucial gathering with village leaders and the Shrine Maiden herself, who remains concealed behind a curtain to prevent direct sight. As the discussion commences, she praises Jinta for his remarkable skill in exterminating demons. He humbly responds that he is merely fulfilling his duty to protect the village, recounting his latest encounter with a demon that attempted to infiltrate the village by disguising itself as a human. One of the officials grows visibly uneasy upon hearing this, prompting the others to inquire about the possible motives behind a demon's attempt to sneak in. A council member proposes that the demon might have been targeting the Shrine Maiden, as ancient lore suggests that consuming a Shrine Maiden's liver grants a demon immortality. However, another possibility arises. The creature could have been seeking the sacred Yurai blade and heirloom passed down through generations of Shrine Maidens, revered for its immense significance. Another official points out that the Yurai sword was forged by one of history's most renowned blacksmiths and is believed to possess supernatural properties. If demons are indeed after the legendary blade, the village could be in grave danger. The chief urges everyone to stay alert, but Kivamasa insists there is no cause for concern, asserting that both he and Jinta are responsible for safeguarding the Shrine Maiden. However, he personally doubts Jinta's qualifications for the role. Just as tensions rise and the two are about to clash, the chief and the Shrine Maiden intervene, ordering them to settle down. With the meeting adjourned, the attendees exit the shrine, except for Jinta, who remains behind to continue his duty of guarding the Shrine Maiden. Now that they are by themselves, the Shrine Priestess steps out of her chamber, revealing herself to be Shirayuki. Jinta questions her actions, reminding her that a Shrine Maiden should not be seen so casually, but since they have been close companions for years, she disregards formalities. She informs him that Suzune is also present, though ordinary people are not permitted within the shrine, meaning she truly should not be there. Suzune appears unchanged from the past few years, and when Jinta and Shirayuki rouse her, she is overjoyed to reunite with her elder brother. Jinta has been so preoccupied with exterminating demons that he hardly ever sees her, and while he is also delighted, he reprimands Suzune for coming here since it is restricted territory. She fails to understand why she cannot visit Shirayuki, while Jinta is allowed to. What rules are rules, and Jinta instructs her to return home. Once Suzune departs, the chief soon arrives at the shrine, bearing an urgent matter to discuss with Shirayuki. He requests privacy, but Jinta initially refuses, as it is his responsibility as her guardian to stay by her side at all times. However, Shirayuki grants him a day off, so Jinta eventually yields and returns home. Meanwhile, beyond the village, two demons set their sights on Suzume due to her cursed eye. Later that evening, Shirayuki secretly slips out of the shrine to meet with Jinta, as she has something significant to share with him. When the chief spoke with her earlier, he advised that she should prioritize bearing in hair to take her place in case she perishes at the hands of demons. It may seem grim, but the chief is correct. Shirayuki must marry soon, and it has been decided that she will wed Kiyomasa primarily because he is the chief's son and will eventually inherit the role as village leader. Jinta is uncertain about how to process this revelation, and Shirayuki is equally displeased. She confesses that she loves Jinta and in truth sneaked out intending to ask him to escape with her and start anew. However, she knows he would never accept. Jinta swore an oath to protect the village and trained tirelessly to become strong enough to defend it, just as Shirayuki did when she pledged herself as the Shrine Maiden. If they were to flee now, it would undermine everything they have worked for. Time passes, and Jinta is once again summoned to a meeting, where he is informed of a demon sighting in the forest. Tasked with exterminating the creature, he promptly prepares to set out. Before he departs, Kiromasa intercepts him. Aware that Jinta must have heard about Shirayuki's engagement, he questions why Jinta seems so indifferent. Jinta replies that there is nothing to be upset over. His sole priorities are the protection of the Shrine Maiden and the village. Strangely, Kiromasa is not trying to boast about his impending marriage. He fully understands that both Jinta and Shirayuki are in love with each other, making the entire situation feel wrong. Yet Jinta has already made his choice, and without hesitation, he leaves to carry out his mission. As soon as he reaches the woods, Jinta is abruptly ambushed by the massive demon. Before the battle starts, he inquires whether the demon is alone, as the report had mentioned 2 demons in the area. The hulking demon clarifies that his companion had some matters to handle in the village. That doesn't sound promising, but Jinta knows he must take care of this opponent first before returning to face the other demon. He lunges forward and with a powerful strike manages to slice off one of the demon's arms. However, the demon continues its assault, forcing Jinta to retreat. Shockingly, the creature retrieves its severed limb, showing no signs of distress. Only admiration for Jinta's skill in cutting it off. Meanwhile, in the village, Suzune finds herself face to face with the 1000 Jiat demon, and sheer terror washes over her. The demon reassures Suzune that there's no need to be afraid because, like her, Suzune is also a demon. However, Suzune refuses to accept this claim. A single glance at Suzune tells the demon baddie that her affection for Jinta is preventing her from fully transforming into a demon. She finds this suffocating, as it must mean Jinta has showered Suzune with boundless love and care, shaping her into a kind-hearted individual. Suzune deeply adores Jinta, so hearing the demon praise him brings her comfort. Now that Suzune is no longer trembling in fear, the demon baddie attempts to persuade her to use her abilities for assistance, even vowing not to harm her. Since demons are incapable of lying, she insists that Suzune can trust her. Nevertheless, Suzune refuses, unwilling to take any risk that might lead to Jinta being harmed. The fiendish girl can't refute that, so she attempts another approach to persuade Suzune and presents her with a vision. The vision depicts Shirayuki disrobing and preparing to receive backshots within the shrine. Witnessing this makes Suzune feel ill, not because of the act itself, but because it wasn't Jinta delivering them. She questions the demon about the authenticity of what she saw, prompting the demon to clarify that her ability grants her foresight and allows her to share glimpses of the future with others, as Suzune just experienced. However, if Suzune remains skeptical, the demon offers to take her to the shrine immediately so she can witness it firsthand. Meanwhile, Jinta is still locked in combat with the hulking demon, but before resuming the battle, he demands to know why demons prey on humans. The demon responds that it is simply their inherent role. While demons aren't necessarily required to kill humans, each one has a designated purpose to fulfill. At this moment, the bulky demon's mission is to delay Jinta. His power of assimilation enables him to absorb the abilities of other demons through consumption. even granting him the ability to modify his body at will. Jinta cannot afford to hesitate, so he lunges forward, aiming to eliminate his foe once and for all. However, in an instant, his arm is severed by a devastating punch, and when he attempts to slice through the demon's neck, the creature crushes his blade between its fangs. By all logic, Jinta should be a dead man, but in a split-second move, he reaches back, snatches a shard of his broken sword, and drives it deep into the demon's heart before it can retaliate. With that, Jinta emerges victorious. The demon, rather than despairing, accepts his defeat with satisfaction. His purpose has been fulfilled. The demon explains that his companion possesses the ability to foresee the future and has gazed 170 years ahead. According to her prophecy, the most powerful demon in history resides in this place, which is why they arrived in the first place. The moment the demon mentions a demon dwelling in the village, Jinta immediately suspects he is referring to Suzune. However, before he can react, the demon declares that he will present Jam with a reward for his triumph. In an instant, the demon's severed arm seizes Jinta's head and squeezes tightly until he loses consciousness. Meanwhile, at the shrine, Kitomasa looms over Shirayuki, determined to conceive a child with her and finally put an end to the ordeal. With Jinta away on a mission, this is the perfect moment. Otherwise, Jinta would be forced to endure the sounds of Shirayuki being taken, and Kitomasa already feels guilty enough about the situation. However, before anything unfolds, the demon girl rips through the curtains, revealing the scene to Suzune, who is utterly shattered by what she witnesses. At the same time, Jinta regains consciousness in the forest and, inexplicably, finds that his missing arm has been restored. However, there is no time to dwell on this mystery. Suzune might be in danger, so he dashes back toward the village. Meanwhile, Suzune struggles to process what she just saw. It was already painful to watch Jinta love Shirayuki, but she endured it for the sake of his happiness. She even prevented herself from maturing, so she wouldn't interfere in their relationship. But now she has discovered that Shirayuki is set to marry another man. This revelation is the breaking point. Suzune loses control, driven to madness by sheer frustration over Shirayuki's betrayal of Jensen's love. After a few provocative remarks from the demon girl, Suzune resolves to end Shirayuki's life. Her dormant demonic power erupts, shrouding the entire room in thick black smoke as she transforms into an adult form. Kitomasa seizes the legendary blade and lunges at Suzune, but before he can strike, the demon girl effortlessly knocks him unconscious. Dragging Kitomasa's body outside for reasons of her own, she leaves Shirayuki alone with her. Soon after, Jinta arrives at the shrine, finding Shirayuki still alive. She dashes toward him, seeking comfort in his embrace, only for her head to be severed in an instant by Suzune. Jinta stands frozen, paralyzed by the horrifying sight, when Suzune suddenly materializes behind him, clutching Shirayuki's head. When Jinta demands an explanation, Suzune recounts the entire story of Shirayuki's arranged marriage to another man. However, Jinta already knew, and even if he hadn't, he argues that it never justified taking her life. Realizing that the Suzune he once cherished is long gone, and with Shirayuki now dead, Jinta feels nothing but pure hatred. The demonic arm begins assimilating into the rest of his body, completing his transformation as he glares at Suzune with absolute loathing. She doesn't understand why he despises her so much when all she wanted was to bring in happiness. Convinced that Jinta is going to abandon her like everyone else, Suzune decides to eliminate him as well. However, when she drives her weapon into his stomach, it barely wounds him. In response, Jinta retaliates by punching straight through her body. Though gravely injured, Suzune clings to life. As Jinta moves to finish her off, the demon girl intervenes, sacrificing herself to shield Suzune. Urging her to flee while she still can, Suzune staggers away. Before disappearing, she solemnly vows that she has nothing left in this world. No matter how long it takes, she swears to bring everything to ruin, and on the final day, she will return to kill Jinta for his betrayal. In 1850, a young woman greets a man named Zenji, who compliments her looks on a lovely morning. Another man jokes about Zenji's bold flirting. Cheerful as ever, Zenji laughs it off and heads back to his shop, where he apologizes to his boss for being late. The boss, unknown to Zenji, stands with someone named Jinta and asks Zenji to explain things to him. Zenji introduces himself, and the man reveals he's Jinta, a sentinel. Jinta says Juzu, who has an adopted daughter, fears a demon might harm her. Zenji is surprised the boss hasn't explained more, so he clarifies. Jinta is being hired to protect Natsu, Juzu's daughter, who claims a demon appeared at her window saying, "Return my daughter to me." They believe the demon sees Natsu as his child and wants to take her. Natsu then storms in, angry at Zenji for sharing her story. When she threatens to tell her father, Zenji pleads, while she complains the bodyguard seems too young. Jinta introduces himself, but Natsu dismisses him, thinking he's a scammer. Zenji insists her father personally chose Jinta. The young girl wants nothing to do with the idea of a Ronin as her protector, so her family refuses to pay for the man's help. As Natsu storms off, Zenji tries to brush it off, but it's pointless. Later that night, the boss's daughter sits on her bed, deep in thought, when Zenji approaches from the other side of the door, his shadow barely visible. Since she scared off the bodyguard, he decides to take on the role himself. Though she sees his bravery and kindness, she remains stubborn, accusing him of thinking she made everything up. Zenji doesn't deny it, and she assumes even her father doubts her, or else he wouldn't have hired a strange Ronin. Zenji calmly insists she's wrong. Her father truly cares and wants to keep her safe. With her head down, Natsu mutters that she's not really his daughter, but suddenly hears a terrifying voice in her head demanding her return. Zenji, confused, tries to figure it out, but then the dark entity appears before him, leaving no room for doubt. He quickly tells the girl to stay put as she peeks through the door at the eerie figure demanding its child. Despite his fear, Zenji tries to protect her, but the demon closes in and it's clear things will turn ugly. Just then, Jinta shows up and slices off the demon's right hand before it can touch him, calmly asking the creature for its name. The demon, desperate to reclaim its daughter, grows more enraged without a reply, prompting the warrior to split in half with his yurei after failing to get answers. Zenji blurts out something crude as Natsu opens the door to find the same Ronin, who bluntly asks about payment while she, still in shock, questions if the beast is truly dead. Jinta explains demons vanish into mist when killed, meaning it will return. The next day, Zenji thanks the Ronin and brings up the creature's return, hoping he'll stay close, and Jinta, intrigued by the demon's mention of a daughter, asks about Natsu. Zenji clarifies she's the adopted daughter of the boss, her real parents from his extended family having died, and since a demon killed the boss's wife and drove his son away, he'd never raise a demon's child. Later, Juzu dines with his daughter, checks if she's fine with her new bodyguard. Natsu says yes, adding that while he has a bad rep, he doesn't seem like a true villain. Natsu appreciates her father's care and trusts his judgment, while Juzu believes any good parent would have done the same. When she asks why he hired that specific man, he explains there have been rumors of demons in Ido, and also of a swordsman, the Ronin, who can slay them. Confident in the Ronin's skills, Juzu considers him the best choice. Natsu is relieved to see her father believes her about the demon. At dawn, they share a warm moment. She reflects on how horror tales like Chimamoreo, ogres, or the cow's head legend don't scare her. She recalls the maid's gossip about their boss, who lost his wife to a demon and had his son taken by another. Still, he hopes the boy will return, which is why he adopted a girl instead. That night, Natsu thinks the scariest thing is often the plain truth. She enters the room where Zenji and Jinta are on watch, asking Zenji why he's there. He jokes he wants to redeem himself for yesterday's mistake and make a name for himself. Seeing she's not impressed, he figures she's still upset, but Natsu says she'll forgive him if he takes her somewhere cool. Zenji boldly insists he can handle the mission. Natsu, amused, asks his name and jokingly calls him Jinta. She says her father respects him, so she decided to trust him. Jinta points out how much she values her father's opinion, and she says it's because he saved her. He assures her that her father cares too, that mentions Juzu's missing son. Natsu snaps, shouting she knows nothing about that runaway. Jinta apologizes, and Natsu suddenly asks if humans can have children with demons. He says yes, which makes her wonder if she's part demon. But Jinta says she's not, since he knows the demon personally. He explains demons are born in various ways, naturally, by force, or from intense emotions like hate or envy. As he speaks, one forms in front of them, an emotion turned into flesh. The demon focuses only on Natsu, so her bodyguard restrains it, thinking it can't speak. Jinta asks if she wants it dead, warning it will return if not. It was born from Natsu's desperate need for her father's full attention, her desire to be seen as his real daughter. Now a demon mimics that fantasy. Overwhelmed, Natsu begs Jinta to stop, though she knows how terrifying it is. He tells her killing it won't help, it's tied to her, and she must confront it. Panicked, she asks how. He says she just has to say the word. Natsu realizes she hid from pain, all to be loved. Believing her father didn't love her, she thought only a demon daughter could earn his attention. That pain gave the demon form. So to destroy it, she thinks she must destroy herself. Zenji disagrees, saying that's nonsense. The love she shares with her father is what truly matters. Since neither is good at sharing feelings, Natsu tries to open up. Crying, she asks Jinta to slay the demon. As he draws his sword, she promises to release her past. The Ronin swiftly ends the battle and white mist dissolves the beast. Natsu rests while Jinta stands guard, noticing hints the creature may return. If it was born from her pain, it should have vanished. He recalls another woman like Natsu and Zenji's story about Juzu's wife dying to a demon. The beast's cry for its daughter may reflect deeper sorrow, perhaps the child Yuzu's wife had. Thinking of his own sister, Jinta regrets their reunion happening this way. He asks the demon's name again, no answer. Believing people must let go of the past, he delivers the final blow. As the mist rises, he softly says, "Mother." The next day, Zenji and Natsu thank him, but Jinta says it was just repaying a debt. He reflects that age doesn't equal wisdom. Time helps us see things clearer. As a child, he didn't understand that wrong acts can have hidden reasons. That guilt stayed. When Natsu admits confusion, he simply tells her to honor her father's kindness. Then he leaves, Juzu appears, and though Zenji wishes he'd said goodbye, Juzu says he trusted his son. Zenji is stunned, but Juzu brushes it off. Natsu then offers help, saying she wants to return his kindness. Juzu replies that just living is enough. Meanwhile, Jinta watches the falling leaves, smiles, and moves on. If you're enjoying the journey of this series, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All of your support helps me to keep bringing more high-quality recaps.